Monday, June 15th. Welcome in, everybody, to the Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The 2025-26 season is officially over. The Carolina Hurricanes are your Stanley Cup champions. We obviously got to talk about that, but it also means it's the offseason. So trades are bound to happen very soon. And we're going to give you 10 center trade targets for the Montreal Canadiens. We're going to talk about their fit, their availability, and the price the team would have to pay to acquire them. It's going to be a really fun show, and it all starts right here, right now.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Trust the process. The sickest NHL prospect podcast with Snake and Shayne.
With the fifth overall selection in the 2024 NHL Draft, the Montreal Canadiens are proud to select Ivan Demidov.
It's gonna be sick.
All right, producer Shayne here, joined as always by Simo the Snake Boisvert. Snake, how are we feeling today?
I'm doing great. It was a busy last couple of weeks, and Saturday I conducted my first draft. So it was fun calling out the picks on the microphone. Yeah. So, I'm learning. It's a different league. It's not the Q. So there are subtleties that I have to master now. But like one of the governors told me last week, he said, this is not year one for you. This is year zero.
That's it.
He goes, next year is year one. So it was a lot of fun. And look, NBA and NHL wrapping up almost like on the same night, which has become quite common in the last few years, that both championships are won on back-to-back nights. Mm-hmm. And I think the San Antonio Spurs, a trust the process type of team, if we were to do a basketball show, they will be back. They will be back. It was a learning experience, and they will be back, and so will Oklahoma City. So it should be a good rivalry in the next few years. And the Hurricanes won the Cup. Before we start, I just want to say that, over the years, very often on shows like ours and the one I have with Matthias, we discuss who could win the Cup within the next 2, 3, 5 years. And every time the Carolina Hurricanes name popped up, I always said no. I thought they were missing something. I always thought they were missing something. What were they missing in my book? Well, maybe a little bit more firepower, but they didn't need it. I mean, they played yesterday. They played the type of game that they played against the Habs. Yeah. And they won. So will they repeat? Look, I like making predictions, and I don't mind being wrong if I'm wrong. So I'll just say no, they won't repeat, because it's kind of a unique path that they had. Yeah. 16-3. I think it's the second best in the history of the playoffs ever since you had to win 16 games to win the Cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So look, it was. But they're going to be good. They're going to be good. I mean, they're not going to make the playoffs next year. That's not what I'm saying. But it's going to be hard for them to repeat. And Jordan Staal being old at 37. Shayne, I'm 60 years old. You know how much I would pay to go back to 37?
Yeah, so but hey, historically speaking, it is a fact he is the oldest player to win the Conn Smythe. But he looked like he was 24. Like Jordan Staal, what a playoff he had. And like you mentioned, Snake, what a weekend of sports it was. Congratulations to the New York Knicks. If you're in the New York area, be careful. It's pandemonium in the streets. Pandemonium. But I guess they're having
and Shayne, it was like old guys weekend, because Lewis Hamilton won a race at age 41.
Oh, wow. It's funny. Hey, Unk still got it. But Snake, to your point about the Hurricanes, though, it's really interesting because they're in a really good position, right? You take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights. They're going to have to maneuver around, right? They're very tight. They've got some RFAs, right? They've got some contracts to sign. They're in a precarious situation. The Carolina Hurricanes are fresh as a daisy here. They've got $11 million to spend this summer. They've got Nicolas Delaurier is their only forward UFA. On defense, they've got Mike Riley, who's a UFA, and Alexander Nikishin, who's an RFA. And Freddie Anderson is a UFA. That's it. They've got all their picks, or most of them. They're picking in the first round this year. They didn't even have to trade their first-round pick. Eric Tulsky, right? Eric Tulsky, quick round of applause for you, okay? What a job he's done. Took over the team and really, like you say, Snake, gave them that little push that they needed to get over the hump and win the cup.
They made sneaky good acquisitions when you think about it over the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Stankoven, because they were able to save the Rantanen deal. Rantanen, because they could have finished the year and let Rantanen walk away.
Yeah.
They chose not to. We got to get something. They got Stankoven. And then, they signed William Carrier, Eric Robinson. They got Nikishin from Russia. Taylor Hall also. Look, the guy finally won a cup. 7 teams. What a strange career this guy had after being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah.
Because, back in 2010, had someone told me that, Taylor Hall is going to win at least 1 Stanley Cup in his career. I would have thought, hey, Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
You remember when they were rebuilding and they were getting Nugent Hopkins, Jordan Eberle.
They had the first overall 3 years in a row. You're like, well, this is it. Like they're building a dynasty here.
It's so unpredictable, all that stuff. So sometimes I wonder why do we make a show like this? We can only look bad. At least I can look bad. But it was. Look, are the Hurricanes my kind of team? Not necessarily, but no. I mean, they won. Good for them. And we'll see next year what happens. And look, they're unpredictable, that stuff. So we just have fun trying to do it. Who's going to win the cup in 4 years?
Yeah.
And always the same names that pop up. The Habs and the Sharks and the Blackhawks and whatever, the Ducks. Maybe there'll be another Carolina Hurricanes team. But look, they didn't come out of nowhere. Let's say it wasn't like the Blues 70 years ago. They had been in the Final Four 4 times in the last 8 years. I mean, they had a veteran team, and they had a very good regular season. I mean, they had the second best record in the regular season.
Yes,
so they didn't win the
East.
Yeah, so they won the East. So, I mean, it's not like a huge surprise. Some will say that, well, they only had to face Ottawa and Philadelphia before they faced the Habs. And even in the Stanley Cup Finals, they avoided the juggernaut Avalanche. Look, that's the way the playoffs work. I mean, sometimes it's
they don't pick their opponent.
Minnesota and Dallas, I mean, they had to face each other in the first round. Look, they won 16 games, and that's it. I mean, because I was looking at the standing, Shayne, and I was thinking, what would have happened had it been 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7? The Habs would have faced Boston in round 1, but they would have faced Carolina in round 2.
That's it, most likely, unless there was an upset.
Yeah, unless there was an upset. So, they got to play an extra round when you think about it. Mm-hmm. The argument on the other side, and I've spoken to fans about it, is that, well, they would have been better rested. They would have just faced Boston. So they would have been better against Look, we'll never know. It doesn't matter. Carolina won. And that's it.
Snake, look, they looked unstoppable in the postseason. Really, credit to them. They steamrolled through these playoffs. I mean, a little shaky here and there against Vegas, but they got right back on track. And like you said, they played their game to win the cup. I mean, they won 3-0. Shout out to Brandon Bussey, who played 2 games and won them both. Credit to him, gets a shutout to win the cup. But overall, Snake, when you take a step back and you look at this playoff run and what the Hurricanes have accomplished here, what's your main takeaway that other teams can maybe learn from or build off of?
Yeah, it's a copycat league. So I don't know if teams are going to try and copy the Hurricanes in terms of roster building.
Yeah.
But maybe coaches will try and duplicate the style of play.
Style, exactly.
But we all know that in the playoffs, it's always been like that. We always had there were always tough guys, and you always needed tough guys to win the cup. And I mean, even the great Edmonton Oilers teams, the high flying team, they were not playing as wide open hockey as they did during the regular season. They always added a few tough players for the bottom six at the trade deadline. Same with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Same with Colorado. When they won their 2 cups, and with Claude Lemieux, by the way. And so I think it might be the style of play. Now, another concern that I read this morning quite a bit online is that they kind of, since they won with that style of play, some fans are concerned that we're going back to the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
Of maybe 25 years ago when they won the cup. They kind of, look, I'm not concerned because the league has become faster and faster, and the Carolina Hurricanes they're not the New Jersey Devils from 25 years ago. They were, of course, they can suffocate the opponent, but it doesn't mean that we're going to go back to this. So I'm not concerned at all.
No.
But maybe coaches will try and make adjustment. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
but I like wide open hockey. What can I tell you? But I also realize that in the playoffs you have to play a different game, and they did it very well.
Yeah, short term, we might see some teams maybe try to copy or emulate that style of play, but long term, I'm with you there, Snake. I mean, the next wave of talent is so skilled and dynamic that that's really the future of hockey. It's high flying, open hockey, right? All about skill and speed. So I'm not overly worried, but look, it's effective. It worked. And my takeaway, Snake, is actually on screen right here. Trust the process. Now, Eric Tulsky did not build the foundation of the team, right? He added the pieces, but he also trusted the process that had been gone underway in Carolina. He trusted Rod Brind'Amour to steer the ship, right? Implement his system and stick to it. He also trusted the core of the team. He's like, okay, well, that core can actually win a cup if I just put the right pieces around it.
Yeah.
That to me is a major takeaway here. They trusted the process and they will keep doing so. Credit to them for that. I think they, top to bottom, that organization did a great job, in the recent years, but especially this year.
And he didn't fire Brind'Amour because Brind'Amour was getting swept by Florida last year.
Stuck to it.
Some teams,
trusted the process.
In sports, some teams do it.
Oh, yeah.
Some teams do it. You see it in the NFL, NBA, NHL. Some teams do it. They're thinking, okay, this guy has reached Peter's principle. This is the best he can do, and we need a new voice. Vegas did it. When they fired Bruce Cassidy, it kind of worked because Tortorella led them to the finals. Who knows what would have happened with Cassidy? But no, I like stability. When it comes to coaching, I like stability. I like coaches that have time to settle in and implement what they want to do. So teams that keep coaches for like 5, 6, 8, 10 years while they're progressing, I'm all for that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, enough Hurricanes talk. I know people want to hear about the Habs. So it is Monday. We're going to talk Habs here. And the offseason is underway, which means trades are coming. Now, a lot of names in circulation, right? A lot of people, and we saw it, Snake, when we asked viewers to send in their trade proposals. Saw a lot of different targets here that the fans are looking to get. So we're going to go through 10 here and give our realistic expectations as to the fit with the Habs, their availability, and the price that they have to pay. And at the end, Snake is going to give us his top 3 targets based on these criteria. So I think we have to start with the biggest one. And listen, we're going to be honest. Okay, we have to tell the truth on this show. His name has been in circulation. Doesn't mean he'll get traded, though, but we have to talk about him. It's the best player on the planet. The best player on the planet, Snake. Connor McDavid. I don't need to give you his profile. Everybody knows, he was 10 little points away from winning a Hart. He won the Ted Lindsay Award, so he's spectacular. He's great. We all know that. Now, availability, okay? This is where it gets interesting because the Edmonton Oilers got bounced in the first round, right? And he is the one that dictates his availability. It's not going to be Stan Bowman. Obviously, Stan Bowman doesn't want to get rid of him. But if McDavid goes up to Stan Bowman and says, get me out of here, kind of doesn't have a choice there. So, is it more likely this year, next year, or is he just staying in Edmonton?
Yeah, well, there are two schools of thought regarding McDavid. And I know that on this show, I mentioned that if the Oilers are going to trade McDavid, they need a star back in return. I gave the Wayne Gretzky trade example. And some listeners and fans are telling me, well, if they have to trade him, they're not going to be able to get a superstar back in return. I think it only takes two teams that are going to bid against each other. But if McDavid only wants to go to one team, and only one team, and we've seen this before, then there's no leverage.
Yeah. So
you try to get the best you can, and usually you're not going to get that superstar. Now, will he be traded? If I knew, I would bet a fortune on it. But I don't, because there's like one Oilers insider last week who said that McDavid was going to resign in Edmonton. He's well entrenched in the city, and that's it. Because there's always something we have to consider. Let's say we're Connor McDavid. You and I are Connor McDavid, let's say. That would be great, by the way, but we're not.
Yeah.
And we've been in Edmonton for 11 years. We like the team. We like living there. We like whatever, your family likes it. It's all personal. If you get traded to any other team in the league that you feel is a contender and that you can bring that team to the Stanley Cup, do you have any guarantees you're going to win? So if you really want to stay in Edmonton, if you really want to stay, and you're thinking, oh, maybe I could go to San Jose or Montreal or whatever, and for sure I'm going to win the cup, then you go. But since you can't be sure, if you like being in Edmonton for whatever reason, you're just going to stay put, and you're hoping that you're going to play for another 7-8 years at a high level. And during those 7-8 years, things will happen roster-wise that will, and coaching-wise or whatever, that will help you win the cup. Like, let's say, 7 years ago, would you have predicted that Carolina was going to win in 2026? We didn't know. Well, could you have predicted any team winning in 2026 back in 2019?
No, it doesn't work that way. I mean, you could throw a dart and say, that team.
Well,
you'd have a better chance of throwing a dart than trying to pick.
You can speculate. This team is rebuilding. Let's say the New Jersey Devils at the time. They got Jack Hughes, okay? And they had Nico Hischier already there. And you're thinking, oh, well, they got Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier. They got the 1-2 punch at center. Hey, 2026, the New Jersey Devils are a good bet to win. They didn't win. They had one great season. Well, regular season. So Connor McDavid might just be this way and think, it's not worth it. Let's stay. But this time for sure, if he stays, he's got to get paid. He's not taking the 12.5. I know Sidney Crosby's done it his entire career, taking 8.7. I don't know. Maybe McDavid will do the same. But is he going to be happy with the way Jeff Jackson, Stan Bowman, and run the show? I mean, the minute they gave him that extension, they turn around and the $7 million that they saved went to Jake Wallman. Nothing against Jake Wallman, but I mean, really, I mean, if you're going to spend $7 million, I think there are better ways than spending it on Jake Wallman. So was it worth it for McDavid to leave $7 million on the table?
Time will tell.
It was not a major acquisition. So
No.
I think what they need, the owners need something. First of all, they need an owner who will stop hiring names for GMs and coaches. Names. You know, what
not
are we
gonna start
going to
this
have?
year.
Bowman and Babcock?
Yeah.
Well, they won cups. Yeah, I'm fine with that. But in what circumstances did they win cups? You know, Babcock had a loaded team. And by the way, he only won once. And I don't care about the gold medals. I mean, he only won once. He took a team in Toronto that was full of stars.
Yeah.
He was supposed to take them to the promised land. It didn't work. Okay, so how is Babcock? Why is Mike Babcock so reputation? Let's say, as I know things happen in Columbus, but you know what I mean by reputation. His reputation as being a good tactician or coach or motivator or whatever. Where does this come from? He won a cup with a loaded team in Detroit.
Beats me.
And Bowman, 3 years of run 3 cups, but you know the team was pretty much built by Dale Talon.
Exactly.
Anyway, that's why I don't know about McDavid, but I do think that if he gets traded, the return will depend on how many teams are involved. If there's 2 or 3 teams, then it's going to cost more. If there's one team, it's going to be a top level prospect and picks.
That's it. Look, the McDavid has a full no move, so ultimately he decides where he goes. He'll have to approve the trade beforehand. So, you know, if he gives you like 2 or 3 teams, he might also want, you know, he might also say, hey, like, don't deplete the team because I want to go there to win a cup, right? Like, so there's this weird balance to it. But if I were to go on Betway, and I don't think they have the odds for that, but if I were to go on Betway and put some money, I think he's staying in Edmonton. I don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but strikes me as a very loyal man. So anything can happen. I mean, if they stink it up again next year, you know what? He might say, okay, this is time. Like, I want to go somewhere else. And then he becomes a rental. The price goes down a little more. But this is a weird situation, Snake. I think, you know, we had to mention McDavid, but really, realistically, I think we can move on here. Talk about some other players. And you mentioned the New Jersey Devils. So let's talk about Nico Hischier for a moment. Kevin Weeks reported that he was close to a deal with the Devils. Still no news about that. Would be coming in at north of $11 million a year. So that is a pretty significant upgrade or, pay raise for him. 27 years old, right? 6'1", 201 pounds. Had 66 points in 82 games, right? First overall pick. He's a very talented player. He is the best face-off man in the league. Had over 1,000 face-off wins last year. Good on the power play, penalty kill. Very little playoff experience, however. So yeah, he's going to have a big contract to sign this summer or next. Snake, what's the feel on Hischier? Is the price too high? Do you even think he is available? Is he staying in New Jersey, in your opinion?
I think he will stay in New Jersey. I think it will be re-signed on July 1st, my opinion, to an extension. But let's say he were to be moved, and would the Habs be interested? I think, of course, the Habs should be interested because would make for a great 1-2 punch with Nick Suzuki. That's for sure. And he's young. Young, you know, he's 27. I mean, he's same age as Suzuki because they were from the same draft year.
Correct.
My only issue with all this is that he's going to break the bank because he's going to be a free agent in 2027, which is not the case for Suzuki or any other of the young, Cole Caulfield, any other of the young stars. So if he breaks the bank, you know, all these guys are making under $10 million. Even the young guys who re-sign, you know, like Dobson and Hudson, and they're all going to make under $10 million. Hischier, obviously, on the free market, and especially with the free agent market being what it is, it's going to be $11-12 million. Do the Habs want to shake their salary scale for this guy? Because is he going to be... does he become the Habs' best player automatically or best forward? Not necessarily.
No.
So it's kind of tricky, but I know that players know that free agency, unrestricted free agency is a privilege and it's normal for players to get paid. And Nick Suzuki knows that in 2030, he's only going to be, 31 years old. He's going to have his crack at another huge contract for like 5, 6, 7 years. So, but is it Kent Hughes style to do something like that? Not so sure.
Yeah.
Not so sure. And that's why I would say Ishier is not coming to the Habs and probably not moving at all.
I agree.
My take on it.
Yeah, I think Sonny Meta is going to handle that situation pretty quickly. I'm with you there. I expect him to sign July 1st. But Snake, I mean, the reason why he's being discussed is because, the New Jersey Devils have yet to have real success, right? And like you said, right, when they drafted Jack Hughes, it was like, okay, like this could go somewhere. Hasn't really gone anywhere. And then, Ishier's relegated to second line center. He would be as well with the Habs, but he could be a number one on plenty of other teams. It's a weird little situation with him, but ultimately I think, he's the captain of the team. I think he's in a good situation. He's got other Swiss teammates there. So I think he's comfortable in Jersey, and ultimately I think he'll re-sign. But yeah, obviously would be an amazing fit in Montreal. Keeping in the same category here, got to talk about Robert Thomas. Now, Andy Strickland came out on Twitter and said, hey, Robert Thomas is off the table. Now, this is, of course, unless a team overpays to get him, but for now, wouldn't seem to be available. However, similar to Nico Hischier, right? About the same age, big, 6 foot, 207 pound center, 64 points in 64 games. That's a point per game player, 52% on faceoffs, power play, penalty kill. He's won the cup, 26 points in 52 career playoff games. And he is signed to a very nice deal, Snake, $8.125 million until 2031. However, with a full no trade clause. So what's the feel on Robert Thomas? I know you were very high on him at trade deadline. I think we're both still very high on the player, but with the possibility of a trade here, I think is minimal.
I think it's slim, but Robert Thomas, probably one of my favorite players in the NHL outside of the megastars, let's say.
Yeah.
Because he is not a megastar, but outside of that category, I really, really like that player. I liked him when he was playing in London 10 years ago. Still like him a lot in St. Louis.
Underrated.
Probably my favorite target of all the names that have been mentioned around in last year. So my favorite target for the Habs. Now, what would be interesting with Thomas is that I would assume, and I'm just assuming because the Blues have a new GM now. Alex Steen is replacing Doug Armstrong. Doug Armstrong is staying on as... I think he's going to be like a consultant or something like that. But it's going to be Alex Steen's team now. Now, what is the philosophy in St. Louis? They traded away some players. They got some very good picks for them, like 15th overall for Justin Falk.
Oh, my God.
I mean, Justin Falk was a very good player, but he's past his prime now. And they got the 15th pick overall. So they have lots of prospects, but not necessarily super high-end prospects. They have a good pool of prospects.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, what do they want to do? Are they just doing some kind of reset on the fly? Like they say now, it's kind of a popular expression. Or are they doing some kind of a rebuild? And what I mean by some kind of a rebuild, I mean, they're not going to tear it down a la Chicago or San Jose. Because they already have a good young core with Jake Neighbors, Dylan Holloway, Philip Broberg. But is it possible that since guys like Thomas and Jordan Kyrou don't necessarily fit in the same age range, that they could be targeted? But again, Thomas is 27. He still has some very good years ahead of him.
Yeah.
He has a contract that runs until 2031 at a very reasonable price, just like Nick Suzuki. So there's no reason to trade this guy when you think about it, unless you want to go even younger. And that's the thing. If they make a trade with the Habs, I would assume that it would be to get younger. It would not be a trade, let's say, we want a roster player and because we're just doing a hockey trade.
No.
No. If you're not going to, why would you trade this to Robert Thomas unless you want to get younger? So if they say, okay, but give us Michael Hage and a number one pick, and okay, that's a different direction. I think the Habs probably would listen, but again, chances are slim.
Yeah.
But new GM, so I would say chances maybe at 20% maybe.
Yeah. Anything's possible, and I mean, if Kent Hughes comes up with a lucrative offer, who's to say he won't take it, right? But as you mentioned, Snake, logistically speaking, he's young, great contract, point per game guy. He's a number one center on most teams. He'd be a luxury to see on the Habs. I don't really see a reason to trade him unless, as mentioned, they get an overpay, right? Just really an offer you cannot refuse. And okay, you know what? Let's engage in a youth movement. Let's move Kyrou. Let's move these guys. But otherwise, I don't.
Because remember, they need defensemen.
Oh, big time. Yeah,
they need young defensemen. They only really
aside
have
from Broberg and Mailloux. I mean,
yeah.
Parayko, Cam Fowler.
Well, they had traded Parayko. They had traded
and he nixed the trade. Yeah, he's like, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah, he nixed the trade. They had traded Parayko. So nothing's impossible with the Blues. Maybe they are trying to get younger, but they would probably want a young defenseman in return for Thomas.
And then some.
And who trades a young defenseman? A good young defenseman? It's rare. I mean, Colorado did it with Bowen Byram. That was a catastrophe, for Casey Middlestat. But then he goes to Boston, and he's not too bad. But look, if you're going to trade Bowen Byram, they probably had concerns about concussions. Otherwise, you don't trade a Bowen Byram when he's like 22, 23 years old.
Yeah, no, he's panned out pretty well in Buffalo.
But, stranger things have happened. I mean, Edmonton let Broberg go for what? A third-round pick? A second-round pick. I mean, in that offer sheet saga. So, very chances are slim for Robert Thomas.
Agreed there. Okay, Snake. Now, this is a player that is more. We're going to talk more so because of availability.
Yeah.
But a little controversial. Let's just say, Elias Pettersson. And the number that jumps out is obviously at the very bottom there, $11.6 million until 2032. For a player who just had 51 points in 74 games, not great. Not a great contract at all. He is, however, the same age as Robert Thomas and Nico Hischier. He's 6'2", 185 pounds, right, left-handed center. Not great on faceoffs. Good on the power play. 24 points in 30 career playoff games. But Snake, we know the situation that the Vancouver Canucks are in right now, right? It's a full rebuild. Youth movement, right? They're trying to clear house here, and we're hearing a lot of names in the rumor mill, whether it be DeBrusk or Philip Ronek, Brock Besser, whatever it may be. He's a name that has also been thrown around, but it's that contract, Snake. That contract, I mean, I don't really see the Canucks, retaining any sort of salary until 2032, unless, man, I don't know. Help me out here. What's the feel on Pettersson?
There's two options, and I'm going to be very brief on this one because I'm not interested.
Yeah.
11.6. You want me to take this on? Pay me. Give me your number one pick in 2027 unprotected. I'll take him.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Secondly, you want to retain a bit of salary just so, let's say, you make it you make him like an $7.58 million player. Still, just give it to me. Future considerations.
The reason why we bring up this name, Snake, is because he had a 100-point season not that long ago. Very promising player, but it seems like it's been going downhill. And look, to his defense, I mean, the Vancouver Canucks don't really have that many weapons to surround him with. However, It's the off the ice things, right? The situation with JT Miller. Is that something you want to get it? You want to get in your team? I don't know about that. Look, it's worth discussing because again, he fits what the Habs are looking for in that sense.
Yeah, but he's a soft player. Do the Habs need a soft player?
There you go. Doesn't really
because
go out
you know
to
what?
hit.
Maybe with the Habs, he would get more points. Okay, I'm not saying he wouldn't, because the situation in Vancouver was very bad last year. And I remember that he had a couple of very good seasons where basically Vancouver was praised for picking him.
Yeah,
at number 5, where
he won the Calder.
Yeah, and he was ranked more like 10th or 12th, or he wasn't ranked in the top 5, so it was kind of a surprising pick. Now we realize why he wasn't ranked in the top 5. So maybe with the Habs he would do better, because he would be well surrounded, and the Habs are a winning team. But he's a soft player, so I'm not really interested.
No, I think we move on there, but worth having the discussion nonetheless. Yeah. Snake, this is a player that I'm very interested in, and someone suggested that player in our trade proposal video. Talking about Thomas Hertl here. Now, Thomas Hertl, 32 years old, maybe a little older than what the Habs would like, but left-handed center, 6'3", 214 pounds, big frame, right? Had a really good season this year, 58 points in 82 games, 114 hits, right? You're talking about Pettersson being soft. Hertl isn't. 57.8% on faceoffs. He's a beast there. 25 power play points. He's got 62 points in 102 career playoff games. Just went to the Stanley Cup Finals, and he is signed to a very nice $6.75 million contract until 2030. It's actually more than that, but the San Jose Sharks are retaining part of it. He does, however, have a modified 3-team no-trade clause. Now, we know the Vegas Golden Knights are going to be in a weird little situation this summer because tight with money, got to re-sign some guys, right? Dorofeyev, he's going to get paid. So, we're thinking about, okay, who could they move to clear up some cap space? Thomas Hertl's names has come up here quite a bit, I found. What do you think about potentially acquiring him?
I think here are the pros and cons. Well, obviously 6.75 is great. 2030, not so sure. Because he's going to be quite a little bit on the older side.
Around?
Yeah, 36 at the end. But look, I think contract-wise, it's okay. He would be the perfect number 2 guy, and you wouldn't challenge like for number 1 or for more power play time. I think because he's never been like a 90-point guy or something in his career. So I think he would be a very good fit. The only thing is, let's remember that when San Jose traded him to Vegas a couple of years ago, what they got in return is
Edstrom.
Yeah, exactly. And a very late first-round pick. So, and that was a younger Hertl with salary being retained. So, how much is he worth now? Really, especially Vegas being in a cap crunch. What is he worth now?
Yeah,
my first offer would be a second-round pick.
That's it.
And maybe a B-level prospect. Because look, he garnered a late first-round pick and a B-level prospect who might never play in the NHL.
That's it.
So what is he worth now?
And then to your point, now Vegas would ask themselves, well, okay, he was really good in the playoff run. He took a pretty bad penalty in overtime, but nonetheless, if we're not going to get a ton of value for him, might as well keep him. Might as well.
Yeah, but they're in a cash crunch and move someone else. Yeah, move someone else. Look, my best offer for Hertl, would be the late first-round pick that the Habs have right now, 28, and that's it.
If Vegas comes back to you and they say, okay, we'll do it if you add a B prospect, would you do it?
Depends on the B prospect.
Okay, let's say
because we all have a different definition.
Yeah, of that's fair. That's fair. But okay, so price wise, I mean, he would be really good for the Habs. They wouldn't have to mortgage.
But it's a short-term thing. But you know what? The Habs are in a championship window right now. They need to add good players.
Exactly.
They need a top 6 player.
And this is the hole. Yeah, this is the
and
hole.
There's not going to be a million guys available. I mean, this summer, there's not going to be a million guys available.
No. That's it. No. We only got 10, and most of them we've determined probably aren't. So
exactly.
Hurdle could, like, of the guys that we mentioned aside from Pettersson, he's probably the most available, if you will, and probably the cheapest to acquire as well. Really fits the hole, but again, would Vegas want to move on from him for a small return? TBD. Now, we're not done with Vegas because they have other options. The other one is William Karlsson. Okay. Now, he only has one season left on his $5.9 million contract. He does have a 10-team modified no trade clause, but he's 33. Again, left shot center, 6 foot, 194 pounds. Was injured a lot of the season, but in the playoffs was excellent. He's a Stanley Cup champion, 83 points in 126 career playoff games. He's a beast on faceoffs. Again, this would be absolutely a second line center, but Snake, he's also a really integral part of that team. I don't think they'll want to move him.
He's an original goal.
He's a misfit. He's a misfit, exactly.
Yeah, he was there in 2017. He had this surprising 43-goal season. Came out of, I wouldn't say nowhere because he was a decent prospect, but he never had his chance in Anaheim.
No.
And Columbus. So, but again, he's a rental player. What is the cost for a rental player usually? A 33-year-old rental player?
Not very high.
Not very high. So, yeah, but again, do you want to re-sign him at age 34 then? So I think Karlsson would be just a 26, 27 guy. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm not close to the idea, but it would be very, very short term. And you're not going to give away some interesting future assets for him. Anyway, these guys, very rarely will teams be able to get a top prospect for these rentals.
Of course.
I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, Justin Falk, they got the 15th pick.
Deadline deals, though.
Deadline deal. Exactly, deadline deal. So if I were to go for him, I wouldn't offer too much. And and look, when I say I wouldn't offer too much, it's not because I don't like the player. And it's not because I'm some kind of Habs homer or anything, being unrealistic, that you can get every player for Owen Beck and a second round pick. No, I'm just putting on my GM cap and looking at the Habs. What works for another team might not work for the Habs and vice versa. I see the fit, but I see a short-term fit. Mm-hmm. Because this is not a long-term solution, but it would be good for next year. But something to revisit only if longer-term options don't exist anymore.
Yeah. Again, this is a player, we're looking at our criteria here. I mean, availability, Vegas has to do something. So available, probably the fit would be great. The price would be great, but it's the term. It's
okay here to have put him on the list. Of course. I mean, we're speculating right now, and we're trying to speculate in a realistic way. And I think William Karlsson, with the cap crunch that they have, could be made available. Anyway, I'm curious to see. I'm going to keep your list, and it's going to be interesting to see next year, or even maybe on our last show on July 2nd, because lots of action probably will have happened, to see who was traded.
Yeah,
among those names. Yeah.
And there's probably a ton more names that we're not even aware of. Yeah. That are made available.
And there's going to be a surprise trade at some point.
100%.
We're going to be floored by some trade. And it's like, what?
Yeah. It's going to be Owen Beck and a second round pick for Connor McDavid. That's what it's going to be. Snake, the day it happens, we have to do a live show. Okay, we're going emergency show. Owen Beck in a second for a second line center.
August 1st, 37 degrees next to the lake.
Exactly.
We'll do a show, with my phone on
by the poolside, with a drink, talking about a big.
Well, I live close to a lake with a small beach, so I'll be there on August 1st when this happens.
All right, but we're not done though. We've got more centers to talk about, 4 more to be precise, and the other one, the next one here, is the name that's been circled around the most regarding the Montreal Canadiens. It's Mason McTavish. Now, the age jumps out, right? 23 years old. You're like, wow, perfect fit. Of course, he's right in the age range. Former, third overall pick, left-handed center, 6'1", 218 pounds, right? Big frame, 41 points in 75 games. Okay, acceptable, right? 48% on faceoffs. He's fine. 95 hits. Okay, you know what? He throws the body around. 11 power play points. It's 6 points in 10 playoff games this season before getting scratched. And he's getting $7 million a year until 2031. Obviously, the fact that he was scratched, Snake, jolted the trade discussions. Okay, well, I guess Joel Quenneville doesn't really value him in the lineup. Maybe, Anaheim's trying to make some room for a guy like Roger McQueen or something like that. But in terms of Mason McTavish, the availability, the fit, the price, give us your thoughts on him.
Well, you see, I think this is a realistic possibility because of what you mentioned. The Ducks have a lot of centermen coming up, Roger McQueen being one of them.
Yeah.
They're still in building mode, so it's not like it's a win-now team, although they won a round, in the playoffs, and they gave Vegas a good run for their money. Now, I think the problem with Mason McTavish is expectations, which means I've followed his career quite a bit because I like watching the Ducks. And when he was drafted third overall at the time, it was a little bit of a surprise. I had him lower on my list. I think a lot of analysts had him lower. It was a bit of a shocker, just the way Beckett Seneca was.
Yeah.
For most people. I think McTavish is value or is somewhere in between the expectations that we had for a number 3 overall pick and the kind of season that he had.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very disappointing season. I remember going there during the holidays and 3 games, I didn't see him.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, but McTavish, the thing is, he's not a great skater and he's not necessarily a highly skilled player. So I think he probably has to find some kind of identity that he will stick to until the end of his career. He is not a skilled guy, or I would say a high skilled guy. He's not a great skater.
No.
But I think the Habs could use someone like him. Now, what would the price be? That's an interesting one because we're talking about a 23, 24-year-old player, 23-year-old player who signed until 2031 for, a $7 million deal for a guy entering his peak years with the cap going up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad deal when you think about it, even if he only scores 50 points.
Yeah.
Let's say. So I think it could be a fit. Maybe not my first choice, but it could be an option. And it depends on the price to pay. Because will there be a fit between the Ducks and the Habs? What would the Ducks want? Do they want
right shot
more?
D?
Yeah, exactly.
So do the Habs. So again, there's a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a disconnect. And I think if the Habs made a trade like this and they had to give up a roster player, then you're sort of like opening a hole somewhere just to patch another one. And you
one
have
step
to be
forward,
careful.
one step
We
back.
have to be careful with this.
Correct.
And I wouldn't give Hage or Zarovsky for this guy.
No.
So then what? So not I would say maybe a little bit more plausible because you at some point GMs talk and you can find a way. But sometimes it's a dead end because just a quick anecdote about the weekend, on Friday night, the night before the draft of the junior AAA league. I mean, we had lots of talks with other teams.
Yeah.
But I would, people knocking on our hotel room door and on the phone and texting and we probably had, I don't know, at least 12 to 15 conversations. And we only ended up making one deal.
Yeah, that's it. It's normal.
So it's normal. And sometimes, I remember 2 guys in a room and we're talking, our group and their group. And it's almost like a poker game. No one's saying anything. And at some point, we look at each other and it's like, this is a dead end.
Yeah.
And they left. Bye.
No,
So anyway, it just goes to show you. I know it's just junior hockey, but trades are trade. I mean, a trade is a trade. Mm-hmm. So I think at some point, I would say maybe a 30% chance that McTavish ends up in Montreal. 30, 35 maybe. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I wouldn't look if we did an emergency podcast on in August about this. I wouldn't fall off my my chair, honestly.
No, for sure. No. And like you mentioned, Snake, there's deficiencies in his game. There's a few concerns, right? The skating, the defensive ability as well. I know Canada fans are going to remember the stop against Finland, right, in the gold medal game. But defensively, you know, in the NHL, it hasn't been great. His analytics are actually really bad. But, you know, great shot. Obviously, he's got the upside. As you mentioned, the skill level maybe isn't as high as you'd wish for. But if he had all of those things, Anaheim wouldn't want to trade him. So then it's up to, you know, the pro scouts and the coaching staff and management to decide, can he learn those skills? Can he improve, or has he already plateaued? You know, that's mostly on pro scouting to determine. But he's a name worth mentioning. Obviously has been in conversations and seems to be available for trade. Another name, Snake, and funny enough, same draft class, drafted one pick ahead. We heard about him in the trade proposal video. It's Matty Beniers. And his name hasn't really been mentioned, right? I don't think Seattle wants to move him. However, I think Seattle does have to do something. And credit to them. Listen, Snake, you know how much I like to bash Seattle. They made a really good choice recently by hiring Pascal Vincent. Okay, so I'll give them that. It's pretty much the only good choice they've made so far. But 23 years old, right? Left-handed center, 6'2", 179 pounds, 50 points in 82 games. It's more of a second-line center production, right? He's put in a 1C hole there because they don't really have anyone else. Not the most physical player, 31 hits. Again, below average on faceoffs. 11 power play points, only 7 points in 15 career playoff game, doesn't have a ton of experience. But again, kind of like McTavish, a very nice contract, just over $7 million a year until 2031. Snake, I mean, this is a player that would obviously really fit with the Habs, and Kate Hughes knows him very well, of course. So do you think he would be available, and what the price would look like for him?
Well, I think Seattle is probably trying to figure out who's going to be their top three centermen in the next few years. Because, you know, they drafted Jake O'Brien. They have Matt Beniers. Berkeley Catton, where is he going to play? He's probably more of a winger. They have, and they would probably be more inclined to trade Shayne Wright. Because Shayne Wright, I think, is a third-line player. He's not a top six player, so they might want to keep Beniers as a top six player. But again, with Beniers, I think, first of all, he was part, just like McTavish. He was in McTavish's draft. It was a weak class, and he was drafted second overall. Yeah, he was drafted 7 overall. When you think about it, a little bit by default. Because a guy like Matthew Beniers, in other years, like let's say 2023, he might have gone 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So he was a number 2. I liked him because I like his energy. He's really engaged. He can make plays. He has skills. I think with the Habs he would get more points.
If he's on the line with Demidov, I mean, yeah.
I don't know why I'm saying that, but it's just a gut feeling. But because he is engaged and he makes plays. And I like guys who are engaged and make plays because at some point you feel that these guys, if they are being paired up with the right line mates on the right team, then their production can go up. Will it go up to 80 points a year? I doubt it. But he's better than a 50-point player, really.
Yeah, he's just not well surrounded.
Really better. He's still got 39 points at 5-on-5. So I like this. And the age group, the value of the contract, the length of the contract, this is worth a lot when you think about it. And he's the perfect number 2 center. He's not going to challenge for number 1, just like Thomas Hertl. But, you know, he's 9 years younger than Hertl. However, you have to give something up. What will Seattle be looking for? Will they be looking for picks, prospects, roster player, defenseman? Who knows? But this is going to cost something. This is going to hurt. If they get Beniers, this is going to hurt. If I'm Seattle, obviously I'm asking for a prospect.
At least starts off with a prospect, yeah.
Yeah, but a good prospect.
Yeah, that's it. A-level.
So,
for sure.
so then the Habs have to decide: do we want to trade an 18 or 19-year-old guy who's a maybe, a very good maybe, for an established players who signed for like 5 years in the prime of his career, and who would be a great fit on the second line?
Oh, big time.
But I doubt he will be traded. I see his name on, trade targets, but I really wonder why. Why is he on trade targets? Because at some point, if, and it's a big if Jake O'Brien becomes a great player, then Beniers is the perfect number 2 center behind him.
Absolutely.
And who will Seattle draft this year? They have another high pick this year. So, but Seattle has to do something because they're running on a treadmill. Yes, they have good young players coming up, but they have holes everywhere. And the team it's not a great mix. I don't like the mix. Individually, a lot of these players are fine, and I would call Seattle, if I were to make trades with a team, I would call Seattle, because individually, I look at the list, I'm like, okay, this is not bad, but the mix is not interesting. And this is going to be like their fifth or sixth season now in the NHL. I think they arrived in 2021. Was that it? 2021?
Something like that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sixth season in the NHL. Yeah. I would make a call, that's for sure. I would make a call, and I wouldn't... I would inquire about, what do you want, and let's see if we can get a deal.
Yeah. Calder winner. I just don't think he's in the right chair in Vegas at all. He's not well surrounded. He's not a number one guy. In the right chair, I think this is a player that could flourish like nothing we've seen before. So again, there's a hole with his name on it in Montreal, but would Seattle want to move him? How much would it cost? That's where we get a little bogged down. But if for some reason he's available, and look, never put it past Seattle to make weird moves, okay?
Yeah, but Ron Francis is gone, Shayne.
He left his mark. I don't know, man. His ghost roams around at us. Oh, man. But I don't know. They need an identity, and maybe this is a move that, gives them the resources to find that identity. I'm trying to rationalize it, but really, if I'm Seattle, I'm holding on to him, and I'm hoping that he can become my 2 seed down the road, like you mentioned, Snake. Next player on the list is the one that I've been saying is my favorite target. That's Vincent Trocheck. The age is the only thing that, would deter me. But again, 32 years old, he's still very good. Right shot center, stocky guy, right? 5'11 at 187. He's not huge, but he plays big. 193 hits this season. He is a monster on faceoffs, 53 points in 67 games. He plays the power play and the penalty kill, 37 points in 56 career playoff games. He won the gold medal at the Olympics. He's got a nice contract here, $5.625 million until 2029. It's not a long-term commitment. I think it's just good enough to fill that gap. And he's got a modified 10-team no-trade clause. We talked about him a little on our last show, Snake, but let's reignite this discussion on Vincent Trocheck to the Habs. What do you think?
Well, I said you just said everything that needs to be said. The contract is perfect.
It is.
3 years left at 5.6 for a 32-year-old guy. Considering the Habs window, considering the price, the length of the contract, the quality of the player, I mean, this is a perfect fit. So the only thing is, what's the price? I think the Rangers are sort of rebuilding. I would say sort of, in the sense that I don't think they would necessarily want a top roster player for him now. Mm-hmm. It depends on the prospect you have to give up. I think I would be more inclined to give up picks for him than a top prospect. But, maybe if we're talking prospect, maybe our Bryce Pickford could be an idea. Mm-hmm. Since Pickford, we don't know what's going to happen. And
they need defensemen.
Yeah,
bad.
And it's going to take at least 2 years on Laval for him before we know exactly what kind of player we have. And because he's kind of an enigma to me. One of my sleepers of the 2025 year draft. But at the same time, he has to find an identity in the NHL. Because remember, this is not although he scored 43, 45 goals, this is not a great puck mover.
Or defensive defenseman.
Or defensive defenseman. This guy who has a great shot. This is a guy who can carry the puck, out of the zone and make a good first pass. And he can step in, and contribute to the offense. But we don't have really a role or an identity for him in the NHL, especially with the Habs. What is he going to be with the Habs? And he needs time in Laval for the Habs to figure out, okay, that's going to be his spot on our roster. Yeah. That's the right chair for him. We don't know yet. This is probably the most intriguing guy for Laval next year for me. I'm so curious because I have no clue what he's going to become as a pro. I have no clue. I like him, but I don't know what he's going to become. And if you told me in 5 years that he were to be an American Hockey League player, I wouldn't be surprised. But if you told me that he was like maybe a number 4 or 5 defenseman scoring like 15, 20 goals because of his shot, I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he became a forward.
Yeah, exactly.
We've mentioned this over the years.
Yeah.
So to me, it's I tell you, I'm very, very curious to see what he's going to do. So anyway, all this to say that maybe a guy like this could be offered to New York with a pick. You're trying not to touch Hayes, Zarovsky, Reinbacher. You don't want to touch these guys for a 32-year-old player. I think if you're going to give up a younger player, you have to get a younger player in return. But he would be a perfect fix short-term and really fix something that was a big deficiency for the Habs this year.
Absolutely. No, that's it. And people get bogged down on the height as well. I've seen comments. People say,
he's
too
tough.
short.
He's
too short.
Tough guy.
Listen, Snake, all day, every day, give me a player who's 5'11", who hits everything that moves, rather than a player who's 6'4" and moves away from contact, right?
Exactly.
Like, this is the discussion we're talking about. It's about toughness. It's about physicality. It's not so much about height.
Yeah.
Sure, height does play a factor. You're given the choice. You want a 6'4" guy who's hitting everything over a 5'11" guy who's hitting everything, right? But in this particular scenario, Snake, the only player who had like the same amount or more hits and more points than him this season was Dylan Cousins as a centerman.
Yeah.
One player had more hits and points than him this season. So when we're talking about the Habs needing grit, skill, second line center, face-off specialist, this guy checks every single box. Yeah. That's why he's number 1 on my want list.
So Trocheck checks a lot of boxes.
Oh!
Yeah, I tell you, for those who listen to my French podcast,
I would be proud.
One of our co-hosts, Pierre-Alexandre Girard, Pag, he likes these kind of word games, And
well done.
I couldn't resist. If Pag is listening right now, he's probably very touched.
Yeah, no, that's it. He's imprinting on you now. You're picking up on the vibes. That's good. Last player to discuss, Nick, and this is a name that was really in circulation at the deadline, but I don't know if it is so much this summer. It's Ryan O'Reilly. Now, again, the oldest player on this list, 35 years old, left shot center, 6'1", 207. He had one of his best years of his career, 74 points in 81 games, 55% on faceoffs, can play power play and the penalty kill. He's a Stanley Cup champion, won the Conn Smythe, 67 points in 81 playoff games, and he's signed for $4.5 million a year until next season. So a rental player, but what a rental he'd be.
Well, just like William Carson, a very short term, very, very short term. This is the kind of player that you get him for 1 year, then you see what happens. If you probably re-sign him, for 1 or 2 years afterwards, if you like him, if you feel that he still has gas in the tank, because at that age, things can go bad very quickly. You never know. for one guy who reaches, the age of 39 and 40, there are guys for whom the 35-year-old season is the last good season they ever had or ever will. Especially not ever had, but at least that they ever will in the future. Anyway, yeah, but again, just like Carlson, I wouldn't give up too much for him. But
No.
he's going to have suitors. There's a new GM in Nashville, Chris McFarland, a so-so GM, I would say, in Colorado. Who knows what his plans are? Does he want to start fresh? Or does he want to keep O'Reilly long term? We really don't know. When there's new management, you don't know what you don't have. There's no pattern, and McFarland didn't tell us what his plans were at the press conference necessarily. Okay, but yeah. I wouldn't give too much. He probably would have been more interesting for the Habs at the trade deadline this year.
For sure. But it's been reported that O'Reilly really enjoys Nashville, even though the future there is a little uncertain. We don't know which direction they're taking. They seem to believe that the core that they currently have, they can win with. I disagree, but look, I'm just a guy on a podcast, right? So it's up to them to decide. If they do, however, think that, let's go with the youth movement. Let's move some pieces. He'd obviously be one of the first guys moved, I would assume, capitalize on the good season he just had. So, again, worth mentioning, but for the short term, I don't know that that's what the Habs are looking for.
I'm
35 years old.
I'm lukewarm with 35-year-old guys. But if he doesn't cost too much, obviously it would be a plus. Because Absolutely. He probably has one more good year.
There you go. Snake, before we get your top three, and you can also, by the way, you can add more names to the list if you'd like. But of the players we mentioned, of the players that could be available, before we get to that, a quick word from our partners, Cheapest T-Shirts.
Stop overpaying. Buying t-shirts, hoodies, or blank apparel. Same brands, same products. Lower prices. No minimums. Buy one or 1,000, same price. Fast Canada shipping. Multiple warehouses. Stop overpaying. Visit cheapesttshirts.ca.
And we thank Cheapest T-Shirts for their partnership and their support. They are amazing. And who else is amazing is Betway. You can make quite a bit of money on Betway. The World Cup is ongoing. You can't bet on hockey anymore. However, I think you can bet on the draft. But that's 2 weeks from now already. Snake, draft's coming up. But yeah, Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account and redeem your welcome offer. The offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. The offer is not available in Ontario. You must be 18 years or older. Please play responsibly. As I mentioned, the draft, I want to tease that on Thursday's show, it's all draft talk. All draft talk. Snake's top 20 has already been released, but we're going to break it down in detail again. He's going to give us his sleeper picks and everything in between. It's dedicated to the draft this Thursday. But this show here, Snake, even though it's been all an hour and 10 minutes, we're not done yet because we need your top three center trade targets.
Well, I'm going to go pretty quickly. Obviously, Connor McDavid would be number one, but let's remove him from the equation. Yeah. Realistically, it would probably have to be Trocheck because of everything we discussed. And the other two, I would say, are unlikely to be traded, but I have to include them, Robert Thomas and Matthew Beniers.
Yeah.
So that would be my top three, basically, depending on who's available. If they're all available, obviously Robert Thomas is number one. But I think realistically, right now, I would focus on Trocheck.
Yeah. I think there's a fit there. And I've seen people be concerned about, would the Rangers trade with Jeff Gorton, right? There's seemingly some bad blood there. I don't buy that. I'm sorry, I don't buy that. Kent Hughes is the one making the deal, and he's got no bad blood with the Rangers. So, listen, Chris Drury is a weird guy, clearly. He's made some weird moves. I'm hoping this is another weird one, and he gets a little less in return, but I don't think that's going to prevent those two teams from making a deal. So, yeah, I am with you there. That's a great list. Snake, It is now time to go digging in the mailbag. We've got 2 questions in the queue today. The first one is coming from JP Marcoux. I wonder how much job security affects hockey decisions during an NHL draft. From the general manager down to the scouts, how much weight does the fear of making a mistake carry compared to the desire to hit a home run? In short, do they play it safe or try to hit singles? Or do they swing for the fences? Because I always find that it's easy to play living room GM or scout when your job isn't on the line. That's a great point by JP.
JP always has fantastic questions.
Correct.
I'm gonna talk from experience in junior hockey because I've never worked in the NHL, so probably this kind of applies to the NHL. But I would say it depends on your relationship with ownership. If you have a plan and you have a long-term contract and ownership is behind your plan, then you have more leeway to do things at least at the beginning. So if you want to go for a home run, like for instance, I'll take the example of junior hockey. More and more in junior hockey, we don't know if some players are going to come and play for our team or not, or in our league or not. They have options. American players, they can play in the USHL, or they can stay in high school. And even Quebecois players now, they go to the States, they play in US high schools. Tons of them are playing in high school right now and were drafted. And so if you feel that you can go for the home run and you're not going to lose your job within a year, then of course you're going to go for it, because in the end, this is what's going to give you a chance at the championship. Now, JP, when you talk about being what did you call it? A couch GM or something?
Living room GM.
Living room GM. Yeah, living room GM. You are so right.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not going to lose my job in junior AAA because I run the team. But even then, before making a move, I was thinking twice about certain things that I would not have thought twice had I just been talking to you on the podcast for fun.
Yeah. You have stakes at hand.
Yeah. And again, it's not NHL stakes, and I'm not going to lose my job. But it goes to show you that when it's for real, and you're in front of a microphone and you're about to call someone's name and you're thinking, is it the right pick? And you sort of back off from certain ideas that you would have had you just been in your living room. So I think, you're right. In the NHL, the stakes are so high that at some point I can understand why a team, picking, 15th overall, is going to go for the solid third line player instead of going for a more, let's call it, problematic player.
The easy choice. Exactly.
Easy choice. I'll just throw a name out there because he was a controversial player during his draft year. Matty Michkov. Matty Michkov normally should have gone in the top 3 or 4. Normally. Yeah. He didn't. Probably for the reasons that JP is mentioning. Because you were swinging for the fences with this guy for a few good reasons. Now, is it going to work out for Philly or not? At least they got him at number 7. But let's say the Sharks at number 4 at the time. They picked Will Smith. They could have picked Michkov.
Yeah.
But they chose not to. The Habs could have picked Michkov. They chose not to. Arizona picked another Russian guy, Simashev.
Yeah.
They could have picked Michkov. They didn't. So they're probably thinking, okay, we don't want the headache. We don't want the risk of a bust or something. We're going to take Simashev. We're going to develop him into a fine NHL defenseman. He started out the year in the NHL. Now he was back in the AHL. He was good in the AHL. But you know what? You're not going to lose your job with this, with a Simashev. You might lose your job with a Michkov. So I hope this answers your question, but you're absolutely right. very easy from our living room or just chatting on the podcast to say, well, I would do this, I would do that. Look, I'm the first one to do it.
That's it.
I'm the first one to do it. I spent years and years and years doing on the radio, or on blogs, telling people, wow, why don't they do that? Oh, they're idiots. They're not doing that. What a bunch of, So I'm a little bit older now, and I realize that there are things to consider. However, it doesn't mean that I'm not a bit of a gambler myself. And because at some point, you know what? You got to go for the cup. And if you're not going to take any chances, you know what? You're going to be a good middle of the pack team.
Case in point, the Carolina Hurricanes. They swung on Mikko Rantanen. It didn't work out.
Exactly.
They pivoted, and Logan Stankoven put up 16 points in 19 games and was on the best line in the playoffs. There you go.
So if I had to choose between being playing it safe or swinging for the fences, my personality is, look, let's swing for the fences, and it's cup or lose my job.
Yeah.
But I do understand those who don't do it. That's what I mean. I do get it.
Yeah. That's a great point, though, by JP, and it's something to consider. All right, next one is coming from Dominic Palladini. It's not so much a question, more of a comment, but I know Snake wants to address it. Snake said that he didn't think that the fans, Jesus, let me rephrase here. Snake said he don't think that the fans, to overestimate, might want to work on the grammar here, our assets much, but sometimes they do. He does the opposite, sadly, and he underestimates the assets of the Montreal Canadiens. For the trading part, we're not trading Hage, a guy that his dream was to play for the Habs. He already has a tattoo of the team on his heart. Sorry, but no. Let's not forget how dominant he was on the big stage as well. Sorry, but suggestion for Hage trade is not serious. Whoa. All right, let's get into this, Snake.
Well, the part that he wants to play for the Habs and everything, it's all fine. But I mean, it's still a business, and I'm not gonna get into this because this is more like from an emotional standpoint of view. Now, I'm going to address the fact that including him in a trade doesn't make sense. Well, actually, no prospect is untradeable depending on who you're getting in return. Mm-hmm. If the Habs swing, go for a top gun, they're going to have to give something up. Whether it be a Zurofsky, they were rumored to have been having offered Zurofsky for Matthew Nice. Mm-hmm. That was a fair return, with picks and everything. So yeah, it's not nonsense to think that H could be traded. Of course, you try not to trade your top players, but H is still an unknown. I like him, but he is still an unknown. We don't know what kind of player he's going to become. We don't know where he's going to fit with the Habs. And the Habs are in the championship, or at least a contending window for the next few years. And these windows don't stay open forever. Hage is going back to Michigan this year. Hage is going to be a rookie in 27-28. And, a rookie is a rookie. Mm-hmm. Demidov was great this year, but he was still a rookie. He will be probably much better next year. So now Hage's impact is being pushed to 28-29. So what do you do the next two seasons if you want to go for the cup? So I'm not saying they should trade Hage. That's not what I'm saying. And I would try to keep him as much as possible.
Of course.
But it's not nonsense to think that he could be offered in a package for a star player. That's pretty much what I'm saying. And I know he wants to play for the Habs. I know these things have to be considered, but it is still a business. I mean, the Habs have traded hometown players before, in the last 50 years. And it's going to happen again. So that was my answer to this comment. Like you say, not really a question, but I would like to address it because very often in trade talks, trade speculations, we mention Michael Hage. Of course, we mention Michael Hage because
You got to
If the
give to
Habs,
get.
you got to give to get, and he's the Habs' best prospect right now. And sometimes, top prospects are traded for when it's time to get, something in return. Vancouver had to give up Zeev Bouillon. Minnesota, not
Minnesota.
Minnesota
I know
had
what
to
you
give
mean.
up Zeev Bouillon to Vancouver. He was a top prospect. He was chosen 12th overall, but they were getting Quinn Hughes. So that's all.
Yeah, look, and Dominic, please, we appreciate the support and the views and all that. But
I like to have the opportunity to explain myself. I like being challenged, and I like sometimes being shown, my contradictions, or sometimes maybe if I exaggerate about something. But I also like the opportunity to explain myself. So that's
Absolutely.
why I appreciate these comments and questions. By the way, I don't take it I don't take it the wrong way. I don't take it badly at all.
No, there's nothing malicious there, and I understand being attached to these young players, and Hage especially, of course, considering his story, and I think Dominic does raise an interesting point of the fact that maybe Hage is more motivated to play for the Habs than he would have been for another team, right? Or for other players would be for playing for the Habs, if that makes sense. But again, it's just trade speculation. And, on his point about undervaluing or over-evaluating players and prospects, Snake is like the least biased person I know. Does not have a favorite team, right? He likes players and rebuilds and whatnot, but he'll give a proper assessment of what he thinks. And look, there's different opinions, right? People see things differently. Snake and I are not huge Oliver Kapanen fans, but other people might think he might be the next 2C. It's all about perception. It's that's what it is, really.
If I may, Shayne, I might have said this before, and this is not to criticize Habs fans or any other team's fans. I'm talking in general in sports, okay? In sports, fans of a team, whether it be the San Antonio Spurs or the Montreal Canadiens or the Dallas Cowboys, whatever, fans usually will focus on their favorite team. They know their favorite team's players by heart. But in doing so, sometimes we tend to ignore players on other teams that might be as good, that might be comparables. And that's why, if a player on our favorite team does well, let's say on the PK, he's the best PK player in the league. Well, there are other good PK players in the league, our fourth line is the best. Yeah, then you watch the Carolina Hurricanes fourth line and you're thinking, I don't know if our fourth line is the best, whether it be Buffalo or Montreal or Dallas. I don't care. This is just a general comment. And that's why it might seem that I underestimate the Habs' assets. It's just that I try and compare them with other teams' assets. And sometimes I feel like, well, this guy, yeah, he's good. But so does this guy from another team. And so that's also an explanation why sometimes fans of a certain team. I remember a few years ago, I'm just going to end with this because we're at an hour and 24 minutes.
Big show.
Maybe 7-8 years ago when I was on Twitter, that was pre-2020. I made a comment, a very, very random comment that the Columbus Blue Jackets were going nowhere. And it was intended for my audience, which was basically most of my audience came from Quebec. However, you know how it is on Twitter. One person retweets it.
Spreads.
Yeah. Or there's a Columbus fan in Quebec who retweets it, whatever. I got a barrage of insults from Jackets fans. And you know what? I don't care about the Columbus Blue Jackets.
What have they achieved? I mean, Zach Werenski's really good.
I was just analyzing the state of the team back maybe in 2018. What have they done since 2018? Not much. I could have been wrong. I mean, I thought Carolina was not going to win the cup. They won the cup. But the point is, those fans who blasted me they're fans of the team, so they didn't see the team with the same eyes as I did.
And it's normal.
And it's normal.
To be expected.
So that's okay. That's okay. But I was shocked to see that a little comment, from a guy, an analyst, from Montreal would travel to Columbus and that fans would freak out.
Yeah. The internet.
Yeah.
It's a crazy thing. Yeah. Well, listen, that is going to do it for today's show. But as I mentioned, we are in the thick of it. Okay. This is prime time for our show here at Trust the Process. Trades are going to happen. The draft is coming up. Free agency. We're going strong all the way until July 2nd. And we might do a special episode or two if big trades break during the summer. But to tease a little bit of what's coming on Thursday, it's all draft talk. We're breaking down Snake's top 20. He's going to give us his sleeper picks and a whole lot more. You'll want to tune in for that. And then on Monday, we're talking trade targets again, but we're looking at wingers and defensemen because we know there's a need for that as well in Montreal. So we've got some names cooked up for you. Get ready for that. And if any trades break until then, we'll be sure to talk about them. And then on Thursday, it's the night before the draft. Might do a little mock draft. We'll just see. Let us know in the chat what you'd like for us to do. But we've got some big stuff planned. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. This was a long show. Get used to it because they're all going to be long, but they're going to be fun. Snake, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I certainly did. Anything else to add before we get out of here?
No, top 20 on Thursday. One of my favorite episodes of the year.
Oh, yeah. I'm pumped for that. Listen, the list is already available. You can see it on Mathias et le Serpent. Snake breaks it down in French. But if you want it in English, you'll have to wait until Thursday. It's going to be well worth it. Trust me. It's a very good list. So for Simon the Snake Boisvert, I'm producer Shayne. Thank you to producer Jimmy back at Master Control. This has been another edition of the Sick Podcast. Trust the Process. See you Thursday. Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Trust the Process on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.